Welcome to our second video about Schwarzesmarken and how German is it. Now, if you want to watch the first part of the show, we got a copyright strike, so when it's back up, I will link it. Hopefully it will be soon. But we are not wasting much time and get started. What about the second episode was accurate depiction of German history.
Throughout the whole episode we saw a lot of different symbols, and because we talked about it last episode already, I'd like to make a little correction, because we had this coat of arms for the East German Army, and by now the Muv-luv wiki has been updated, so we could have a high resolution version of that coat of arms. Now, a few corrections. Initially I assumed that the eagle at the top of it was the eagle of the Third Reich. This turned out to be false. It's just a regular eagle. However, it's already weird that this eagle is wearing a crown, because that's not a symbol that socialism would use, because socialism interprets, or at least the German one did it, they interpret the whole world history as a struggle between classes of oppressor and oppressed, so they wouldn't use a symbol of oppressors. Other than that, we have the map of East Germany. Then this small diamond shape, that is the symbol of the East German Air Force, and below it says Heeresgruppe Ost. This means Army Group East, and this might also be the reason why the eastern part of Germany is split in a white and a red part. So the red part basically shows East Germany, which this army group is responsible for. But then again, since it says it is an army group, I wouldn't quite believe that this is the symbol for the entirety of the East German military. Then the other thing we had was the Stasi symbol. We finally saw that. And quite interesting. When I saw it, I had some associations with it in my mind, and I looked it up and I was right. The Americans of here should recognize it as well. It's actually the eagle from the Great Seal of the United States. Now, the United States version has the eagle where some arrows and I think an olive branch in his claws. And this East German version, which didn't exist historically, it has two weapons, a sword and a fasces. Now, what's so special about that axe, the fasces? The fasces, as the name implies, was the symbol of fascism. The fasces comes from the Roman Empire, and back then in the military units, the leaders would wear this axe semi-hidden in a bundle of other stuff. And it was not to be used as a weapon against the enemy. It was used as a weapon for punishment if some soldiers would defect or defy their orders. So they would be beheaded or something like that. So it is a symbol for enforcing authority. And so it really fits the symbolism of a Stasi. You have the sword, because in this episode we saw that they were a special unit separate from the military that would also engage or be supposed to be engaged in this war. But at the same time it has the fasces, so it's supposed to instill authority on the other people of their state. Other than that, the eagle is pretty much the same as the US one, but it has the all-seeing eye in a pyramid on its shield. Basically that old Illuminati symbol that is on the backside of the Grand Seal of United States. So yeah, it's kind of weird that they have this US symbolism, but maybe that has something to do with them trying to overthrow the East German government. I don't know, but I'm curious to see. So yeah, that's basically it for the symbols. We could finally analyze them properly.
Look at them. So another thing in the opening of the show is at a certain point you see so-called Plattenbauten.
Well, I think English speakers, the derogatory term for them would be commieblock. It is quite simple, because Eastern Europe was so destroyed after World War II, it was necessary to create lots of housing, and there wasn't enough time to rebuild all the old beautiful architecture, nor would it provide enough room. So what they did was they really they put up these huge blocks of concrete, and people would live in these apartments, which were rather comfortable and luxurious for their time. But nowadays it's really where the lower layers of society dwell. It's not really all that nice and pretty anymore. But yeah, it was just a product of its time.
Next up are the names of the TSF called the Tactical Service Fighters, so the Mechs of the show, that have a special name. And one thing to know about the Muv-luv universe is that in our time we developed certain planes, jet fighters, etc. as weapons, but those never came to be in the Muv-luv universe, and instead the mechs happened. So some weapons have the name of different weapons from us. So these mechs have names from weapons that exist in our world, but of course not in the Muv-luv universe. So first up is the Phantom. You looked up what they refer to?
Yeah, it's based on the American F-4 jet fighter. And, or was it? No, it was an interceptor, sorry. The F-4 was the stereotypical US plane in the Vietnam War. And beforehand they mentioned the balalaika. And the balalaika was a nickname for the Russian MiG-21, which was the stereotypical enemy of the F-4 in the Vietnam War. That was a Russian airplane. And the thing is, the balalaika is named after a string instrument from Russia. It looks kind of similar to a shamisen from Japan, but just look up the balalaika and you will see why the jet was named that way, because they have a very similar shape. And shortly afterward, when the Stasi arrives...
あら？どこの部隊かしら？いや、この音はMiG-23 cheburashka.
The sound, they can tell by the sound that a cheburashka is approaching. And cheburashka was the nickname for the Russian MiG-23. And cheburashka was named after, it was originally a kids' literature. It was a little mascot. It later got a stop motion movie and stuff like that. It's a very weird looking creature. Look it up. It's like a small monkey with a huge head and huge ears. It looks terrifying. I think I would have gotten nightmares as a child back then. Important
to see here is that the mechs used are provided in the first place by the Soviet Union. So it makes sense that the units they use are from Russia. And just a coloring scheme for the Stasi, and of course the symbols on the balalaika are what makes them different.
Yeah, and as the Stasi arrives, we get a closer look of Axmann. And when there's a close-up of him, you actually see his epaulettes, his shoulder stripes that indicate his rank. And I actually checked it. He's supposed to be a lieutenant colonel in the show, and the epaulettes were actually correct. This is how they looked. It's just a very small detail, but I was really amazed that they put the effort and time into the whole thing and did the research and chose the correct shoulder straps for him. So that was completely correct. そして、Werewolf大隊指揮官、Beatrix Brehme少佐。
Unit where the black-haired woman Beatrix is in is called the Werewolf battalion, and that is, according to you, extremely false.
Well, it's not extremely false, it's extremely unlikely. The reason is that werewolf, in German it's Werwolf, sounds very similar. It is unlikely that any of the successor states of the Third Reich would have chosen that name, for the mere fact that after World War II there was a National Socialist guerrilla militia that still fought the Allied occupation forces, and they named themselves Werewolf. So in that sense it's quite unlikely that they would have chosen that name. I think they were around until the early 50s. So yeah, it wasn't just a short-lived thing. So a National Socialist militia, it's unlikely that they would choose a name that coincides with their name.
Next thing was dangerous ideologies. because Katja Waldheim was, when the Stasi came, telling how East and West Germany should work together and we can do it.
私たちの敵はベータのはずです。すべての人間がお互いを信じ、力を合わせないとベータに分かって。
Only together and win against the beta. This is some really dangerous talk. It was. You could become quite endangered for talking like this. Anything to add?
Yeah, the thing is, even the East German anthem had had lines about Germany, united fatherland, and all of that. And very quickly they would go to a practice where they would not sing the anthem anymore for official occasions like a football game or stuff like that. Just because when the wall was built and the Cold War intensified, all talks about reunification were basically like, you kind of like these West Germans, because East German government, they were really about establishing East Germans as their own ethnicity. They were like saying, okay, you are a different people than these guys past the wall, because in East German mythology, as you could call it, all the evil fascists of the Third Reich, they fled to the west. So that's where the enemy still is.
So interesting. A little short story about my mother. My mother told me when she was working with the machines and when the sound was so loud you couldn't hear your own voice, she was actually singing the national hymn of Germany, and her boss, that's some dangerous things you are singing, dear Mrs. Karl. But she didn't get in trouble because most of these worker groups were protective of each other. So my mother was the youngest one, and they looked up that she wouldn't do too many stupid things, because my mother was quite a rebel in the days. And that's an important fact, I think, is that the ground people were protective of each other. They weren't like the DDR is the best form of government.
互いを信じて力を合わせる。本気で言ってるのそれ。そうです。二つのドイツが力を合わせればベータなんて。口先だけのガキって嫌いよ。あんたのような危険思想の持ち主。
The next thing in this episode was the reaction of Sylwia, who beat up Katia as she was talking about that, and I think that's a similar case. I don't think Sylwia wanted to beat up Katia, but protect her. And showing that the Schwarzesmarken is on the side of the Stasi. Hey, look, we are not opposing you. We don't want her to talk about that as well. And Iristina, very neutral, told Theodore, give her a little pep talk about how the political things work in the East. So I think it's a form of tough love, because you can't really afford in East Germany to talk about a unification of the country without getting in serious trouble.
Right. And kind of midway through into the episode, we caught a glimpse of Zehdenick base. Again, just like last episode, this was actually a real military base. It was the third largest Soviet base in East Germany at the time, and it had a heavy focus on anti-air warcraft. And therefore, it is very correct that they show these tanks early on. They are ZSU-23-4 Shilka. And those were Russian anti-aircraft tanks that really fall into the time period. So once again, I was really pleasantly surprised how accurate it was. And this is stuff that you can't really just type into Google, like Soviet bases in East Germany, and you find them all. Even I had to do quite some research to check this, and I don't think that as a non-native speaker you could actually just find all that easily. So I'm pretty sure that the team that was responsible for the writing